My knowledge of UFO lore and history is quite extensive. I'm a nerd. What I learned last night is obscure, and yet it's a matter of historical record, and there's NASA photos to back it up. It's insane, but let's watch this 3.5 minute clip first, and then we're going to go into extensive commentary on the greatest threat to mankind that we've ever known: aliens from Saturn.
So, Saturn was ringless, according to the ancients, before this great catastrophe. So where did the bloody rings come from? This man, Norman Berggren, has a long history, he's in his 90s now, of working in high-tech space and missiles and NASA and all the rest of it. And he wrote a book some years ago called The Ring Makers of Saturn, because when he studied pictures of the rings, he realized they were changing, and not only changing, they were being made as you looked at the pictures. This Voyager spacecraft went closest to Saturn in 1980, and then there's the Cassini craft, which arrived in 2004, and I think he's still in the area. And when he compared pictures from both of them, and then compared pictures in relation to the other, he realized that the story of Saturn was very different to the one he thought and he'd been told. He said this in his book: several years ago, a number of folks in the astronomy and physics world began to theorizing that these rings had to be much younger than the universe, perhaps only about 100 million years old. But one pair of pictures shows a change in 5 minutes. An impression is conveyed that the latest reported measurements purport to be the true ones, when in reality all might be quite nearly correct at the time of observation, but general reluctance to accept variable ring system geometry occurs because of the apparent failure to identify a physical mechanism suitable for producing recurrent change. In other words, because they can't explain why it's changing, they'll just deny it's bloody changing. And on the pictures, and NASA has these pictures, he saw these, what he calls electromagnetic vehicles. And these are thousands of miles long, some of them. And if anyone thinks that's fantastic, that's the Earth in relation to Saturn. We're not talking about the same relationship to size. And there's loads of them on these pictures. These electromagnetic vehicles, he calls them, all over the place. Here's one pictured next to the rings by the Hubble telescope. Here's a few NASA pictures showing one of them apparently moving. You put the pictures together. Why have we never heard of these except through Norman Berggren? And then he found pictures where these electromagnetic vehicles went into the rings, and all this stuff was coming out of them that were making the rings as he was looking through the pictures. They're not natural. They say the water ice and stuff is in the rings. I reckon you'll probably find that there's a certain crystal in the rings that is generating the frequency. And this is from just a couple of weeks ago. The mysteries of Saturn's expanding F ring. Saturn's most distant ring is twice as bright and 3 times as wide as it was during the Voyager flybys in 1980 and 81. The great mystery of Saturn's rings, how they formed, why are they like that, we don't know. Well, maybe we do. There's this massive ring that was found in 2009, about 3.7 million miles out from Saturn, but around Saturn. Get 1 billion Earths in it. And I'm suggesting that actually that broadcast comes across to us. The Saturn matrix is a band of frequency which we are tuned to, and we think it's real.
Now you watch a guy like David Icke just talking about these things like they're everyday things. It kind of goes over your head. He was talking about vehicles, space vehicles, that are 1,000 miles long. With NASA photos to back it up. Historical record. 1,000 miles long. There's nothing on Earth that size. You know the size of New York City? It's about 320 square miles, but it's only 35 miles long. These things that are 1,000 miles plus long, flying around in the rings of Saturn. And I just learned this yesterday night. That's what? How did this happen? How did I not know about this? This is the sound, the frequency that the rings of Saturn actually make. So whatever these beings are, or whatever they are that pilot these vehicles, if they ever decided to come to Earth and take out humanity, it would be over in literally like 30 seconds. We wouldn't stand a chance. And nobody talks about this. This is super obscure information, like I was saying, and yet it's a matter of historical record. Anyway, I had to share that with you. Aliens be in the Saturn rings, and well, let's hope they never decide to take us out, because we just are not equipped for the size of what they're packing.